Hi and welcome to the Azam Shop channel. I'm your host Mohammad Azam with another screencast. And first of all, I'd like to share a small news. I'm working on a website which will actually host all the videos. And of course, the videos will be hosted on YouTube, of course, but it will be the website which will categorize all the videos. And you can go to the website, you can request a video, and you can do different other things. So it will be a centralized place for you to go watch videos, request a video. You can still request a video right now. Like if you go to the channel page, youtube.com/azamsharp, then there's on the right hand side there's a link to request a video or something like that, and you can do that, and it goes to the user user voice, and then you can, I can actually see that what you're requesting, and I make those videos in the future. So what are we doing today? So we are going to make a HTTP client using AFNetworking or AFHTTPClient. Okay, that is the library. And if you go in the previous one of the old screencasts that I recorded, I showed you how to request using a AFNetworking class, and it's basically one of the best network integrations out there for Objective-C. You can call a web service, you can call you can call anything on the web, and it can return you a JSON response. It also has built-in image view, which will, extension for the image view or categories on the image view, so that the images are downloaded on the background thread instead on the user interface thread. So if you have not used AF networking, I highly recommend that you do so. And in this one, we are going to create a small client. Now, why would you need a client when you have certain methods in AF networking that can do most of the stuff? Well, it's good to have a client because there are some requests. If you're working on a application, iOS application or iPad application, so there might be a time that when you have to send some sort of information with all of the requests that you're doing, okay, and doing that again and again, it kind of becomes a headache. So that's one of the reasons. Other reasons are, of course, you can control what it will go in, what will go out, JSON going in, JSON coming out. So there are many other reasons to create a client. So we are going to create a client called Magazine HTTP client. As you can see, I've already added the pods, Cocoa pods. If you are not familiar with Cocoa pods, then there's a screencast on that also on my channel. You can go and search for that, and you'll find it. So we have added a AF networking pod, so we are already hooked up correctly, and we created a Magazine HTTP client, which of course inherits from AF HTTP client. Okay, over here, this is the URL for the complete code, the header file as well as the implementation file. So if you do wish to copy and paste, or if you do wish to go and see, this is the link. Okay, and hopefully this will be on every page or most of the pages that we are going to use in this particular example. Okay, so let's go ahead and create this client. Okay, so we are going to create different blocks basically, which will be responsible for getting the data. So I'm just going to say, first of all, a couple of things I need to include. Request operation.h. Okay, and now let's declare the blocks. So over here I'm going to say type def, and blocks, we're declaring these blocks so that we're creating these blocks for the client success and client failure. Okay, what to do when the request is successful, and what to do if the request failed. Okay, and over here I'm going to call the block, let's say, magazine client success. Okay, and it will take AF JSON request operation. Okay, and the second parameter is the response object. Pretty similar will be a block for a failure. Now the failure can happen if the URL doesn't exist. Failure can happen in many other ways if the URL is actually move, then you will get a 302. Failure can happen if you are disconnected. So there are different ways that you can have a failure. Okay, failure, and then over here we're going to use NS error. So this is the basic structure that we have for our magazine HTTP client. Okay, now our client will have a single method that we are going to override. Now, since this client will be shared between we have to create a singleton since it's a common thing for everyone. So it's going to say shared client. And we can also have another method called void get latest. Okay, and this will be a magazine client success. And you can see that we're using a block syntax over here so that we don't have to implement any protocols and delegates and all that crap. Alright, let's go ahead and compile that. Everything looks okay. If you go to the over here in the implementation file, a couple of things we can copy paste. First of all is a URL. Okay, so I'm going to use my own URL over here, my own website, and of course this will be your own website's URL. Then we come to the shared client. Now you only have to make this client once. Okay, so you have to create a singleton method. So you can use this one, and instead of this we have a magazine HTTP client. And here we go, it goes under the Grand Central dispatch of dispatch once. It will be dispatch once, client will be created, and the client will be returned. Rest of the code I'll show you. What I do is I'll try to copy paste it, the get latest code, since it only go ahead and gets the latest article. Oops. So we're over here, we are going to say this is a magazine success and this is a magazine failure. Okay, so inside this function, inside this method get latest, it's going to call the get path, and this is a path that will be attached to the base URL, but we have not implemented the init method. Okay, so init method is of course the initialization method. And in the initialization we can simply say if self equal to super init with base URL. So we can initialize this with the base URL, ns URL with string, and we already have the URL. In this case we're going to say base underscore URL. I'm going to do something over here and then return self. Okay, let's go ahead and compile that. So that should be okay. Alright, before doing that, let me actually go ahead and show you that what we are supposed to be returning. Okay, come on, let's go. Here we go. So this is what we expected to return. If you go to this URL, high-encoding /ns magazine /latest, it's going to return some text to you. It's basically stuff about the article. Okay. So now if I go, now the way to use this is if I go to my view controller and over here, right? So if I want to use it, well, first of all I have to add it over here in the header file. We will import the magazine HTTP client. Once again, this is a URL. You can go to this URL to download the complete implementation of the magazine HTTP client, or some other client. Basically it is called, I think, NSM HTTP client, but it's the same implementation that we are doing over here. And basically over here we can simply go ahead and implement that magazine HTTP client, shared client, and get latest. I like to complete this first so that it's okay, right? All right, so over here we can say, okay, log out what you have returned, response object. All right, and running on the iPhone simulator, let's go ahead and run this and see what is being returned. So we have to take a look at the console, since it will be printed on the console. If you're wondering what's going on, it's still loading. So here we go, and we get some gibberish over here, we get some data over here, but I mean we cannot really read this data, what's going on, right? The reason it returned like that and not some other form is that we haven't specified that what kind of data we are looking at, or we want. So let's go ahead and say register HTTP operation class, and we can say AF JSON request operation class, and then set not set but set default header, and then whatever header you want to pass over here. In this case we are passing the accept as application /JSON. Okay, let me go ahead and run a tool. It's called Charles2. I have a trial over here. It's going to take a while to run, but while it is trying to run, this tool is great for web debugging proxy. Basically, it's really a great tool because it will intercept the request that it's coming from the simulator, and any request basically, and then it will show you that what the request was made, what the parameter was being sent, and all that stuff. So let me go ahead and run this and go to Charles, and here we go. This is the request that's going on, and you can see that this is the request parameters, headers, and all that stuff. Okay, and this is the response coming back. So hold on a second. Set default header, seems like it is AF JSON request operation class, register HTTP operation class, values application JSON. Let's see what it printed on the screen. Oh, here we go. So it did printed all this stuff on the screen, which means that our request is actually coming out to be good, right? If you want to post the parameters, then you will use some different thing. You will use not get path but post on the path. But anyway, try out also Charles2. It's pretty, it's pretty good for sending out the requests and all that stuff. Here we go. So it's article ID, blah blah blah. So all the things are being sent, and here are the headers. I'm not sure why it was not showing previously, but here are the headers, and here's the request headers application. So you can add over here, you can add whatever you like. So if I want to add, and that's the beauty of creating your own HTTP client. So if I want to say that, okay, this is a secret key, don't tell anyone, right? Secret key, and I can say, okay, 45 blah 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 blah. So here we go, we run this, and let's go over here at Charles, And do you see the secret key over here? Secret key, here we go, 43DERF secret key. So you can, so that's the main reason that we use or we create the HTTP client, because we have more control over it, what we send and what we receive. And that's pretty much it. So thank you very much, and stay tuned for more videos, and also stay tuned for the website. I'm working on the website. It will take some time for completion, but when it's up, you will know it's up, right? All right, thank you very much, and see you next time.